It is early January. It's my favorite time of the year. I know for a fact it's for the other three awesome dudes in this chat. They love this time of year. 18 weeks in the book. And now starting this Saturday is the NFL postseason. Wildcard weekend kicks off on Saturday. We have games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we are going to cover it. We're here every Tuesday for the rest of the month. We are breaking down the NFL postseason week by week, and I have the best people around to help me do it. And all of us are going to entertain and inspire you, the greatest fans listeners in the world. Plus, today's show will focus on the firings that took place yesterday, as we're recording on Black Monday, so we'll see what happens unless there's any breaking news, and hopefully there is, because you know who I want. We'll focus on just how the number one seeds play into this, and then we're going to break down the matchups one by one. So here we go. Let's kick this off, literally. So first on the show today, we have the great Bryan McKeon here. What's up, Bryan? Great to see you. Staten Island's own, the Cowboy fan. We know he's excited.
Can't wait. It might be time. It might be time for another one.
It might be time. Okay. Well, you know how I will feel, and we'll discuss that throughout, but best of luck indeed. And another guy whose team, it's been a very long time. Maybe it's the time for this guy's team. I know for a fact he has a lot to say after Sunday night's epic matchup. We have the Las Vegas Raider fan, Alex Ranniello, here. What's up, Alex?
What's going on, man? Happy to be back. Let's go, Raider Nation.
All right. And then we have the Giants fan. We have NCAA Division I athlete Tommy Brown, recording from my own studio, which I miss, as he's my great brother and he has one of the best football minds I know. So, Tommy, great to see you. What's up with you?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Gentlemen, let's get to it. The National Football League, the 2021 season, before we hit the matchups, before we hit the coaches' firings, and then me just ranting on the Giants, because this is just my show and this is the one selfish thing I'll do. But, you know, we'll make it fun anyways, and I need to hear your perspectives. But anyways, I'll just throw it out there. How do you guys feel about the NFL this season? And when a year where COVID ran amok again, we have legends staying put. We have new stars arising. We have franchises shocking us, franchises disappointing us. And we've seen teams lose 7 straight, then win 8 straight, and then fire their coach, because why not? I mean, shit has gone down already, and we're just approaching the postseason. So how do you guys feel about the NFL this season in a general sense?
I was excited. Very, very excited. Is it just me? But I felt that like majority of the NFL was competitive this year. I feel like, and we had like, you know, but like most of the NFL was actually competing, and even the Lions, they were competing every week, like close games. It was like fun to watch football again.
One of the best two-win teams, I think, of the year, low key. What'd you think of the season, Tommy?
Well, I think this year it had definitely one of the best, or one of the most entertaining or interesting off the field news this year. There was a bunch of off the field news, like with AB, John Gruden, so many more, that there was a lot of stuff going on off the field.
Yep.
Made the season much more, like, I guess, entertaining.
Indeed. Talk about infamous things that took place. And Alex, how do you feel about this season?
Yeah, just a little bit of both of what you guys said. No, it was a nice mix of real competitive games. I really like the 17-game season. I think a lot of teams made it to the finish line more than we thought, and there was a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows between the divisions, seeing a lot of the hierarchy in each division change over. I think there was a lot of surprise teams and a few disappointing teams, but it was really cool to see a lot of the power shift throughout the course of an 18-week season, and I like how every team plays within division the last week. I think it keeps things really, really competitive, a lot more at stake, at least from my own experience. And you know, it allows teams to play spoiler that are 2-3 win teams. So even if you have a good dense amount of the population of the league at the middle of the pack, you could still get some really interesting games in there up until the end. So I thought it was a really good experiment by the NFL tweaking things from last season to this season. And I think there's a lot of good positives to take away from it.
Absolutely. And like I said, we have an entire postseason to experience once and for all on top of this. And you make great points, Alex. The Indianapolis Colts are not playing in the playoffs because of a competitive team in the Jaguars, and yet they still have the number 1 pick going into the draft. You had spoilers with the Lions. They beat the Packers this past week. They didn't have to do that. So you're right. I think it was a lot of fun. I think it was definitely needed. And all I can hope now is that COVID doesn't ruin the integrity of some of these games coming up, because imagine a Super Bowl where there's backup quarterbacks played. And I mean, nothing against them, but people, we don't want another fluky season to take place. And I don't think that was the case last season, but hopefully that doesn't happen again at all this season. So
I also think, before we move on, I think like the old phrase, like, you don't notice your car until it stops working. I think that kind of goes well with, I think it goes well with the efficiency of the refs as well for the season that they've had, because they're always under fire. It's kind of a thankless job. And there wasn't really many egregious calls from this year that I can remember off the top of my head. I know that there was a couple pass interferences that they're going to have to look at, especially with like that Chargers play from last night with the ball way out of play. But I think that they're doing a pretty damn good job as the seasons continue on too.
100%. We have not had any egregious calls. We have not had a situation like the NFC Championship a couple seasons ago and stuff like that. And let's keep it that way. So the big thing before we continue, all right, we're recording obviously on Monday for Tuesday. So we'll talk about the events that took place today, the infamous Black Monday, the day where we see a lot of NFL franchises clean house and coaches get fired, unfortunately. Some notable names include Mike Zimmer from Minnesota is out. Matt Nagy from Chicago out. Brian Flores surprisingly out in Miami after, again, a stellar season starting at 1-7, coming back to 500. Though short of making the playoffs, they did defeat the Patriots yesterday. And it's been quite the time. The Broncos fired their coach. And am I missing anyone so far? I don't think so. Obviously, Urban Meyer and Jacksonville already got fired already.
Did you mention Matt Nagy?
Yep, Matt Nagy's too.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I hit up all the firings. So there's 6 as of this moment. So let's take it back. I'm going to ask you this. Who do you think definitely, I guess this is kind of obvious and I let my opinion already, but who of that group, of the people at group, who do you think deserved it? Did they all deserve it? Do you think they should have got another chance from the 5 to 6 coaches I mentioned? As I said, Brian Flores, I think that's just a joke with the Dolphins franchise. I'll start the conversation there. It seems their owner, it was a power struggle between him and Tua, and he chose Tua. And yeah, it's quite embarrassing. It seems that Brian Flores will easily get a job if he wants one. And that's definitely the most disgusting firing I saw. But I think the other ones, it was time to go. Even though I do like Matt Nagy as a coach, but it just got so bad. And the team, that for somebody who had so much sat against him, from Mitch Trubisky to Cody Parkey hitting the doink, I really think if it shows, as long as you have good players and they don't make dumb mistakes, he can win in this league too. So I think it was just his time to go. But out of everyone else I mentioned, how do you guys feel about the firings that took place today?
I got 2 remarks. I'll start with the outlandish one. Matt Nagy getting fired. Mitchell Trubisky deserves a second chance in the NFL.
Ooh, elaborate on that. Why do you think Mitch Trubisky should get a second chance? He doesn't.
They didn't, like, yeah, you could say they surrounded him with the defense, but an offensive-minded head coach did not put him in a correct scheme. He went, I have a quarterback and I know his limitations. I'm going to do my offense and not care. And that is the worst thing you could do. It's the worst thing you could do. It's like trying to fit, when you were in kindergarten, a square in like the triangle hole in the block thing. It doesn't make sense. Like Mitchell Trubisky is like a, game manager, play action, heavy run. And they decided to, before David Montgomery in the last 2 seasons, the last year with Trubisky and now this year has really come into to the ground and pound. Before that, it was Tariq Cohen doing screens. And it wasn't really like, a run game. They really didn't have a true tight end. They had Jimmy Graham, but he's on the end. And then you have now Cole Kmet coming into play. They just didn't know how to run. The O-line was always bad. They didn't have an offense around him to support him. That's my fear with like Zach Wilson and like, Trevor Lawrence is when you have a quarterback with the skill set, you need to build around him. If you don't, they're never going to learn. And they're never going to actually live up to the potential. And then the second one, what were you saying?
I was just going to ask, what offenses do you think he could fit in for next season if they were someone to give a chance?
Carolina. If Matt Rule's staying, I think Carolina, sign him as a backup, draft a quarterback out of college and something like that. Like he needs like a system he needs like Chicago, but with a head coach that's actually going to like change and work with him.
All right, I hear that. And what was your second point?
Brian Flores, the Denver Broncos, please call Brian Flores. That man literally took an awful team going 0-7, won 8 or 9 games straight. And with a quarterback that is below 20, with a rookie receiver, I can't name another receiver besides him and Devontae Parker on the team. Defense is like a no-name defense, and they took them to almost making the playoffs. Brian Flores is a great coach. He needs a GM and an owner that actually has faith. And it's sad to watch because that man really, I think they went like 10 wins the season before with Fitzpatrick and Tua. Something like that, something close to that. And, if the 3 seasons, it takes more than 3 seasons to build, especially with all like, no cap space and, rookie deals and stuff like that. A lot of rookies and stuff like that. And they had cap space issues with like Tannehill and everything like that towards the end. It didn't make sense to me. And like a team like Denver, like sign him immediately. You have a defense, go get yourself a quarterback and you'll be in the playoffs.
I think it's fair to say that Flores' record doesn't represent the great coach he is. And everyone says he's officially the hottest candidate if Jim Harbaugh, depending on how serious he is about actually coming back. What do the rest of you guys think of the firings from today?
I think all the firings, I think we all saw them coming except for like Brian Flores. Like this year, he won 9 games. Last year, I believe he just missed the playoffs with 10 wins. Which is still pretty good.
Right.
I think that's the only one that shocked all of us is seeing Brian Flores. I think all the he's a players coach. Like all the players were shocked. Even the players that didn't play for him, they were all shocked that the Dolphins fired him. So that's one crazy thing that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you guys said. I mean, Brian Flores definitely got the short end of the stick. And it's hard when you have the 4th best quarterback in your own division, too, because you're making the most out of the least. It sucks because, he goes 4-2 against Belichick, which is just impressive. In itself. He completely reset and built a culture in just 3 years' time, which is what any coach would be, wishing hopefully to do. And a lot of the guys that you look around the league that got fired, like Mike Zimmer and Fangio and Nagy, then obviously Gruden, like they don't really set a culture successfully the way that he did. So it may be a blessing in disguise because I think he's definitely going to get a second crack at another organization, another coaching job. Like immediately, he's got to be the hottest candidate, besides like Brian Daboll or Eric Bieniemy. But other than that, I mean, a lot of the other guys, it was kind of their time. But in the same breath, my general consensus that I would put out to as a PSA to all these other organizations is that you're not gonna reset your culture just by continuously firing coaches. It's a lot of other things that are involved in building a team, building a roster. It's got to be top-down leadership. It has to be good management, good good general manager, good assistants, good staff, good training. People have to be accountable. So I think, as much as I'm all for the other coaches being fired, because I think rightfully so, I think they kind of squandered their opportunities. I think that the organization has to be held a little bit accountable as well, and understand that it's on their behalf that they need to act a little better as well, for the success of the organization.
It's true. You sign up as a coach to be fired. Extremely rare cases where you leave off in the sunset. And I do agree, Alex, with the exception of my team and the Giants, if you keep firing people, it's not going to change anything. If you don't have at least some leverage to actually make the change for it. For instance, Brian Flores did not need to get fired, even if there were rumors of some falling out, especially with his quarterback. That's something that could be fixed between adults. Now, my next point with the Giants, and obviously somebody who I want to get fired, and I don't know if Tommy officially wanted to judge out as the other Giants fan, but for a team that is unfortunately needing to do revolving doors because of just awful decisions when you win 2 Super Bowls in 5 years, the New York Giants, as of this moment recording, a lot of big changes that took place. One, Dave Gettleman is retiring, yet people know that's just a graceful decision, even though he should get fired. Reckon he did hit some draft picks of legitimate players. As a whole, it turned into us going backwards. Listen, this genuinely pains me to say that the New York Football Giants are arguably the worst team from the 2021 season, especially at the end, where no one was scoring. Even with the injuries, no one was making any progress whatsoever. The defense just being torn apart and then getting just blown out by so many bad teams in the day. The Bears scored 29 points against us. And then you just see this team. Literally, we're on the brink of seeing the Giants turn into the Jets. And it's funny because the Yankees are turning to the Mets with the decisions they've been making over the past few years. Like, I can't believe we're literally living amongst this. But anyways, I agree with your point, Alex, with the exception of the New York Giants, because they are just so far gone. And now we are awaiting what they are going to do with Joe Judge. Now, the rumor is whoever the general manager they select, it's going to be up to the GM to decide what they're going to do with Joe Judge. Whether that's true or not, that story is still developing. You would like to see John Mara grow a set of balls and address his franchise for somebody who was one of the most respected owners, and now he's slowly turning into a major joke. Obviously, this is much more emotion and passion than maybe professionalism, in the sense that taking both sides, but I'm just fed up, embarrassed, and I just don't know where this team is going. Reckon we have 2 picks in the 2 picks in the top 7 draft picks. I don't know what's going on. People think that Kevin Abrams is going to be promoted from within, which doesn't make sense. Why would you continue to promote a administration that has clearly been underachieving? And you just don't know what the hell's going on. And it honestly might take many weeks until things are resolved. Rant done. What do you have to say, Alex?
Just to add to that, I think when we talk about top-down leadership again, with good organizations and successful ones, I think the way that we're seeing the culture shift in the NFL towards, more offense-oriented and younger coaching and players coaching, I think if you are going to, seek out a competent general manager or a competent president, you're going to have to go with a guy who really relates to players, especially if you're going to lure one of these big fish like Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or someone in the short-term near future who's going to get you to success within a 3-year or 5-year window. So with that said, I would look at, people like Louis Riddick, someone who's competent, who's been looking at the numbers, watching, studying film that really reflects what players value as well, who has experience. That's like one of many names off the top of my head that I feel would be could really reel in a big fish like Russell Wilson, because that would honestly be the ultimate best case scenario if you're trying to get a really quality quarterback.
Tommy, as a fellow Giant fan, how do you feel? Or I'll actually give this to Bryan first. Or Bryan, I saw your hand just a couple of minutes after.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like the Giants decided to go away from their identity. In I would say, the last 5 years of they keep on trying to press offense, and they've never been about offense ever. You know what I mean? Like when I think of great Giants teams, I don't think about offense. I think about great defense.
Absolutely.
I would say go get Mike Zimmer, fire Joe Judge. Even though you might say Mike Zimmer didn't do well in the Vikings didn't do well because they have a middle of the pack quarterback with an okay offensive line and a lot of just unlucky games. Like they lost a lot of unlucky games, and that's how the NFL works. As a Jason Garrett, guy who, watched it throughout my entire life, 8-8 is very easy to do when you just have no luck on your side. So, you get a guy like Zimmer who, a lot of people forget was the D coordinator of Dallas when they were winning Super Bowls and was really, 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 really good. And he continued to have great defenses on the Vikings. Builds your defense back, draft defense, and let the offensive come because like right now, like you don't have an offensive line to support a rookie quarterback. You have a $72 million receiver who doesn't have a quarterback anyway. So it's like or a touchdown, which is I feel he quit. He quit on the season. Mm-hmm. He gave up. He was like, I'm collecting my cash and not getting hurt.
All right, Tommy, you've heard both sides who don't have a side in the fight. I'd love to hear your perspective now after hearing two different perspectives.
Well, to piggyback on Alex's conversation about the GMs, one general manager that I wouldn't mind bring in is John Dorsey. He was one of the key people that helped change the Browns around, being a 0-16 team to drafting Baker Mayfield, getting Jarvis Landry, getting Odell. I think he's one guy that can, if you want to look at candidates, I think he knows his players, and he's been there in an organization where he's helped change around. So that could be one guy.
Definitely. Yeah, I think to your point, Bryan, I think like when we kind of lump Zimmer into some of the people who, justly or unjustly got fired this year, I think like you could make a case that Minnesota's like right in the mix of things if Kirk Cousins isn't ruled out for that Packers game. Because if it wasn't for that, they're right in the hunt for that last playoff spot. And I think that he's gone through a lot of changeover in that organization back from the Minnesota Miracle up until now. And so I think he's a very competent quarterback. I mean, a very competent coach, especially if you're going to go back to your, defensive identity, which is what the Giants are all about.
You also got to remember, like the fluke game against Dallas this year, our backup quarterback went for like 350 yards and like, a game-winning touchdown. Like that doesn't usually happen. And like they lost that game. So it's like, it shows like, that's 2 wins right there. You throw in, they're in a wild card spot.
And the general philosophy too is you bring in a guy who is an expert on one side of the ball, and then you basically pay for the other side that you don't understand. So if you're a defensive coach, you master that side of the ball, and then you pay for receivers and skill position guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think of Joe Judge. I know he's special teams guy. When I think special teams guys, I think enforcers. I don't think of someone that he's a leadership guy, but he's not an X's and O's guy. And with a team with this many troubles and like identity crisis, like this team looked like it did have heart this year, and they had leadership and they knew passion and everything like that, but they just didn't know how to play football.
Right. And also with the defense, especially, if we look historically at the 4 Super Bowl teams, you're right. All major defenses, whether the first 2 led by defensive coordinator Bill Belichick in the Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks days. And then when we go to Tom Coughlin, especially the pass rushers, Justin Tuck and Michael Strahan and OC, those were the teams that, defeated an 18-0 Patriots team and then beat Tom Brady again in the Super Bowl. And we are far from that. Dexter Lawrence is nowhere close to being that. Seeing a Z here and there, you think something, but everything just dropped off. And, our conversation can grow a little more once we actually know what the Giants are doing. They're just staying back Joe Judge, it was amazing how much his press conferences just got worse and worse and how much he could talk out of his ass. And this guy, he also used that skill to win us over at one point. But again, it's just gross. I'm just disgusted. And again, all I can do is just wait to see who the new GM is. As we just talked about some good candidates out there. The main thing is don't promote Kevin Abrams, or I literally think they will try to burn down MetLife Stadium.
They should do like a recovery package, like for all the Giants fans that had were season ticket holders that had to watch this stuff.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And well,
whatever.
We'll see how the next few weeks, again, what they will actually decide. But until then, let's go. I'll give my endorsement later. But okay, so dealt with the Giants, the coaches' firings. Now let's focus on the teams that still remain. So we'll first hit on the 2 number 1 seeds and talk about their trajectory going into it. So first, the Tennessee Titans, a team they're the number 1 seed. They have a first round bye. Obviously, the major injury problems from you lost Julio at one point, AJ Brown. We're still waiting to see Derrick Henry's status. He wasn't cleared in the final game of the season. People think with this extra week that he will be in there. Do you guys think this Tennessee Titans team, with the addition of Derrick Henry especially, are they justifying their, them being the number 1 seed? Do you think they earned it? And do you think they have a chance to actually make a deep run? We've seen them win playoff games. Mike Vrabel has won games in the postseason, has gotten as far as the AFC Championship. Can they finally get to the Super Bowl? Talk to me about the Titans.
Talk about having a heart of a Titan. That team is just smash mouth football in your face, ground and pound, with this beauty of play action, with 2 great receivers. If Derrick Henry is healthy and he's Derrick Henry, the king, 2,000 yards a season going at a clip, they're going to be frightening. And because the defense can hold up, the head coach Vrabel just knows how to take, if they don't have, besides Bayard and a few other guys on the defense, I can't name anyone, and they're very good. They're sound. They're middle of the pack defense, but they make plays. That offense, the offensive line, it's been banged up, but it's good. But it's just enough, with a guy like Henry, where you could just run the football nonstop, run clock, and then you have, play action, and you have, AJ Brown and Julio doing skinny posts or crossing routes, and I would take that matchup every day. Definitely deserve the 1 seed.
Even with Tannehill, huh? Respect it. Respect the. Do you guys feel
weird year for him?
Well, he had a great year last year too. It was more, I think it was just all an indictment on Adam Gase, completely spoiling his development.
Yeah, right. You could really make the what if he had a proper, first head coach. What a story, Tommy. What do you think about the Titans positioning?
Yeah, I think Ryan Tannehill would be the difference maker for the Titans. If he's on his shit, then they could be a serious team. But now, if he struggles or he loses confidence in games where he's thrown picks early, he could slip. But I think it'll go down to how Ryan Tannehill will play.
All right, now the NFC number 1 seed. The Green Bay Packers are in there. 13-4, wrecking a very tough loss to the Lions yesterday. We could debate if they were really trying or not, but huge momentum, especially when you have a very stacked NFC playoff. The other teams in the NFC. I think it'll be harder to get there from the NFC side than the AFC. When you have obviously Tampa, and then you have a good Dallas team, and then the Rams. I mean, it was very important for the Packers to make the number 1 seed. Now, with all the controversy surrounding Aaron Rodgers this whole entire season, yet playing on an MVP level, he's obviously going to be the MVP, with the team staying relatively healthy, and anything can happen with their stellar running game as well. Do you think the Packers can make a deep run? Can they finally be the ones to make the NFC champ? They can finally win the NFC Championship. They've lost the last 4 NFC Championships since Rodgers won in 2010. Is 5th time a charm with this 1 seed. Is this 1 seed, legit?
Well, I think Rodgers, it's in the Packers, it's their race to lose. Like you said, it's been the past 4 NFC championships they've been in, they've lost, and Rodgers coming off, it's going to be his 2nd MVP season. I think this year is going to be the year for Rodgers and the Packers to actually do something.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it has to be. I think this is the best crack at it he's going to get to move on. I mean, I've been very critical of Rodgers in the past. I still think that he's got a lot of his own issues, both on the field and off the field regardless, but this is their chance to win it. Tampa's not the same team, the same threat as they were last year, coming into their house. The Rams don't look the same. A lot of these other teams have at least 1 or 2 fatal flaws with their roster. In Green Bay, as long as they stay the course and they don't get too high or too low through the playoffs, I think that they should be there right in the NFC Championship game again.
All right.
No, I definitely agree. It feels very Last Dance, off-season struggles and issues, and then you just have Aaron Rodgers willing the team to literally go all the way through the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, retire, and just go do Jeopardy. It feels too good.
I was gonna ask, do you guys? Oh, you were saying, Alex?
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna kind of culminate that. It's like, you look at like all the great teams in history, like of both NFL, NBA, whoever you want to, apply it to. There's never been an ideal situation, but if you're Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I just think that a lack of gratitude is kind of what's driving his unhappiness in the off seasons. I don't think he really fully grasps what the organization has done to put talent around him, because when you look at what they've gone through season after season, with the roster changes and what they've built, like he's got to be very, very gracious of the talent around him. I don't think there's a better roster in the NFC right now for him to, be surrounded by.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And that's the big question, is what is Rodgers going to do next? Also with what Brady's going to do next after this game.
I mean, he's also getting his left-hand man, David Bakhtiari. He's coming back to be
very, very important thing to note there.
Huge.
Yeah, because I know at the beginning of the season, I was worried about losing Lindsley to the Chargers, how that was going to affect their offensive line. But the guys they've plugged in have been pretty steady for him. He hasn't really been too much under duress this entire season.
Going to be a fun matchup to see when we do the divisionals next week. And like you said, I think Tommy said it best. It's the Packers postseason to lose, and we'll see if they do. And let's talk about the wildcard weekend. Let's get to it right away. So I'm going to name each matchup, and we're going to break down, we'll make our predictions and go from there. So I'm going to do it in chronological order on how the schedule plays out. So first, Saturday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. on NBC, you have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cincinnati Bengals. Just some notes here. Yeah, this is a rematch from Week 11. The Bengals defeated the Raiders back in Week 11 on the road. And this will be the first time they match up since January 91. Cincinnati hasn't won in 31 years. Joe Burrow is looking something. The Burrow and Chase combo is something special growing. Very good offensive line. A Super Bowl sleeper for sure. And then you have the Raiders after the stellar, probably the game of the year, defeating the Chargers with a huge overtime field goal with literally only 2 seconds to spare. And I mean, the franchise has gone through hell and back this year. Obviously, from Ruggins to the crazy, the guy who I can't remember his name with the machine gun, John Madden, John Gruden. Yeah. What a time. And despite that, David Carr proved mightily throughout the season. Josh Jacobs shows why he's the secret best weapon. And I mean, with Waller having another big year, with Hunter Renfrow being showing how underrated he is.
Broke the single season record.
Yeah. So the
Receiving.
Raiders have a lot of momentum. We'll obviously go throw it to the floor with Alex to start it as the Raiders fan. First, tell me, how did you feel about that game? And how do you think this is going to impact going against a very popular Cincinnati Bengals team?
Yeah, well, it felt absolutely freaking liberating. I mean, back in 2016 when Carr was on an MVP course, it was really demoralizing when he got hurt week 16 against the Colts and he didn't get to play in that playoff game. So this truly is his first playoff game. They've more than earned this. They've faced so much adversity this year. Like I said, like you alluded to with the coach firing and Madden passing, and then issues with individual players not being undisciplined in Vegas. It's just one of those teams where everything culminated at the right time. Bisaccia had that unique opportunity to be plugged in as an interim coach and take them over the hump and prove himself as well. And that'll be an interesting topic for in the future if he gets a second crack at a job as well.
Yeah.
But things kind of aligned at the right time. I mean, Jacobs wasn't healthy all season. He had cracked ribs. We had holes in our secondary. Guys were out week to week. Waller was out 6 weeks with a knee and an ankle. So a lot of things were working against us, but somehow Carr, overcame a lot of that and was kind of the guiding light, even when he wasn't embraced from day one by Gruden. Gruden didn't really believe in him. He wasn't his guy. He overcame that. He kind of steadied the tide in the locker room, kept those guys together. And, if you look at a lot of the character, we don't really talk about character today in society as much, but in sports especially, like a lot of those guys in that locker room, overcame a lot in their own personal lives. And I think that kind of carried onto the field as well. There were a lot of opportunities during the regular season where they, had a 2-3 game skid, and I'm like, oh, goddamn Raiders, they're going down again. hot start right into the shitter again. And no, they came back. They won 4 straight in tight games. Carr I think he has the second most game-winning drives, 30 all time since 2004 when he was drafted. Besides Brady, he has the second most. So he's just been clutch. Carlson has 5 walk-off game-winning field goals this year. These guys just show up at the right time. The stars align, and I think that the best case scenario is playing the Bengals versus the Chiefs, who they probably would have if they had tied, because you have Joe Burrow, who, despite an amazing season, he's still vulnerable and unproven in the playoffs. Zach Taylor, the jury's still out on him. So they're going to have just as much to prove in their first game with limited exposure that the Raiders are, except I believe in Carr when it comes down to it at the end of the day. So I like our chances on Saturday.
Okay. I hear that. And as I'm looking for the spread, just to have the official number right here at the moment. Well, I'll give that information once it loads, but let me throw it to Brian and Tommy. Do you feel that the Raiders can beat this Bengals team, or do you think the Bengals can beat the Raiders?
I think it was this game they just played last night was the perfect warm up to the Bengals, because the Chargers and Bengals are a very similar type of team. High octane offense, great running back with, a good defense. It's a second-year quarterback who, they're both going to be MVPs one day if they stay healthy and they're in the right situations. There's no doubt in my mind. They have, similar, quarterback style of play, and they won, and it just shows heart. So I think it was the perfect warm-up. Like, you just literally need to say, watch game film from last week, act like you did, and you'll be fine. Okay. But they got to be careful, though, because that Bengals offense is frightening. Derek Carr has to play his best game ever, and the defense can't allow Joe Mixon to run for over 100 yards. That's the 2 key success of the game. Yeah.
As someone who follows the defense like that, do you think that's going to be a challenge for this defense coming into it, or do you think they can stop these stellar playmakers? Alex?
Oh, well, I mean, it's tough because the calling card of our season was the defense, and I think that the corners have the potential, but they just every game they give me mild heart attacks because they play very undisciplined, both on defense and on offense at times. So I can't really definitively say. I think that if they could dial in on Jamar Chase, and force them to kind of spread the ball around in the middle of the field with short gains, I think they could keep Burrow intact. It depends on how big of a game Max Crosby is going to have and how healthy Perriman's going to be, Denzel Perriman in the secondary, because he came off in the middle of the game last night with something going on with his forearm. So they're going to have that's going to be an interesting update on his health. But if Crosby can get home and not sacrifice their back end on defense, he's been wreaking havoc all year, so he could really change the game for them.
He was the key in that Chargers game. Those rushes were very important. He got to the quarterback, even with the stellar Justin Herbert, and we see what happens. Tommy, do you have any notes on this game?
Well, you said the Bengals are home, right?
Yeah, it's in Cincinnati.
This game. The game's in Vegas.
It is?
No, it's Cincinnati.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I was looking at the game from they played the season. I apologize there.
That's okay.
Now, what I was going to say, Bengals versus Raiders, two very good teams are getting hot at the right moment for them. But sorry, Alex, I think that Bengals are gonna beat the Raiders. But I truly think if the Raiders were home for this game, I would have had the Raiders winning. But the Bengals having home field advantage, I think Joe Burrow will get the best out of them.
Yeah.
Hear that. And Bengals open up as 6-point favorites via DraftKings, and the over-under is 49.5. Any notes there? Do you think that's disrespectful? Do you not care? I'm just curious.
Bring it on. Bring it on. More energy, more overcoming.
If Carr's feeling himself, then yeah, it could be a close game.
All right. Good stuff.
I think a lot of it's going to boil down to clock management. Which team can, possess the ball more, because if Carr and that offense can run it down their throat and keep Burrow on the sidelines, it's going to be a lot different game.
Right. Yeah.
All right. That's great game to kick off this amazing weekend. And then the other game that night, 8:15 p.m., the New England Patriots are going to Buffalo against the Buffalo Bills. So Pats and Bills, a rematch from another one of the best games of the year. True hardcore gridiron gang football, which resulted in the Patriots winning. Now, it really seems that this game will be decided from the weather. And let me just see the weather in Buffalo on Saturday night will be, according to weather.com, the anticipation is real. I cannot wait to get a new laptop. This is a 10-year-old laptop. It's started a podcast, but, with the research, it takes a while there. But anyways, again, I will maneuver this right here. Just keep hearing me talk. And the weather in Buffalo on Saturday night is 14 degrees and sunny, partly cloudy with precipitation of 10%. It's going to be really cold.
Sounds fun.
So big game, big statement game. Mac Jones will be a rookie quarterback in this very important divisional matchup. We have the Bills, who any people think come, at least at the beginning of this season, were Super Bowl favorites. And they had a pretty above average season. And yeah, this is going to be big. How do we feel about the Pats and the Bills?
It's 1-1 for the series the series this year, right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I think weather for this game is definitely going to be the main factor. Because last time they played in Buffalo, it was Mac only threw 2 passes and handed the ball off 40 times. Definitely going to be a totally different game than that. But if Josh Allen is playing right that day, then I wouldn't be surprised if the Buffalo Bills come on top. But at the same time, it's always, you can never bet against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. But so I have the Patriots winning this game.
Okay. You do think that Mac Jones will be able to win this playoff game, take away the rookiness, and he will be a professional with that stellar defense?
I don't think he himself will get the win for the team, but I think it'll either be the run game or the defense that'll be big in that game.
All right, Brian, what do you say?
No, I agree 100%. I feel it's going to come down to weather. If it snows or it's windy, I give the Patriots a win 100%. One thing that I would love to see the Patriots defense do is shut down the Bills passing offense and actually force them to run the ball, because I feel like that's their weakness that they did not address in the offseason, the Bills. They kept everyone basically on their offense in the receiving core. They have a quarterback. They upgraded the O-line, and they got a couple of pieces on defense. They did not try to upgrade at the running back position, maybe because they believe in Singletary. I think he had like close to 800 yards this year, but I just don't feel like they have a consistent enough running game with him and their scheme to actually, out Belichick. I don't, it's like, like Brady and LeBron, you don't bet against them. It's just even, you know what I mean? I don't bet against Belichick. You can't, I just feel like, he just knows how to command a team. The defense will be sound, and Mac Jones needs to, as we've seen before, only throw 2 passes to win a game. And they have 4 starting caliber running backs on their offense. So I think they could just run the ball and run the clock.
Okay. So we're going to see that hard-nosed grind in there. And Alex, do you have any notes regarding the Pats and the Bills?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off what you guys said, I think New England's going to win in a tight one. I see that because, like you guys said, you don't bet against Belichick, especially head-to-head. There's no secrets between these two. They've played each other twice. I give the nod to Belichick with his familiarity, and he's willing to dispense. He's willing to adapt at the highest level. If they need to throw, my thing is with the weather, considering the weather and considering the circumstance, I see a lot of short route stuff, middle of the field, a lot of, pick screens, a lot of runs from Damian Harris and so on and so forth. I think they're going to try to run it down their throat because as we saw how the Bills were able to get home with pressure on the Jets last weekend, I think that's going to be a huge concern with Mac Jones sitting back there in the pocket for too long. So I think they're going to dial up a lot of really quick stuff on a fast-paced offense. So, I'm sure Josh McDaniels and Mac Jones are going to be prepping and scheming all week, obviously for this game and how they want to orchestrate the offense. And we'll see a lot. We'll see a lot by halftime, because we know that Belichick always has a plan in the locker room for the second half.
Man, can you imagine if the predictions come true and the Patriots defeat the Bills? How bad do you think this can set back that franchise?
Tremendously, because at the beginning of the season, it was like Super Bowl appearance or bust. And I think that over the course of the season, I think that they've gotten too centric around Josh Allen and too reliant. It feels like he's got to throw 50 passes and run for 60, 70 yards, where they could, Brian Daboll should maybe, change things up and keep the defense on their heels a little more. So it's going to be interesting how they try to spread the offense. Do they want to go 60-40 running the ball, keep the defense honest all game? So it'll be interesting to see how they come out.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. And the spread officially for Bills and Patriots as of this moment it looks like the spread right now is Buffalo, the favorites at 4.5. So you guys say vote, pick the money line that go against them, and maybe I actually think with a struggling season all season, if you don't broke, fix it. If it's not fixed, if it's broke, don't fix it. If it's broke, fix it. And I just think their bad luck is going to continue as well. So we'll see our underdog pick there. And then we're going to Sunday, 1 p.m. on Fox. You have the Philadelphia Eagles play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Philly seeing the Eagles in the playoffs generally pisses me off. But for a team that for two teams that played each other, the Bucs defeated the Eagles 28-22 back in week 6. The Eagles went 7-4 since then and were able to sneak into the playoffs. Now you have Jalen Hurts leading that young squad to go up against Brady. Can Brady finally avenge losing to the Eagles in the Super Bowl back in 2018? I honestly think this is kind of an easy matchup to predict, and it would be a huge shot if the Eagles could somehow knock off the stellar Buccaneers team. And that's where I'm going with here. Do you guys feel that the Bucs and the Eagles can be an interesting matchup, or do we see a potential blowout coming?
I think with Brady playing an NFC championship in the playoffs, especially last year, playing the Washington football team in the wild card as well, I think it will be a close game. NFC East teams usually know how to, at most times, get the best of Brady, and I think the Eagles will be scoring points, but I think Brady, at the end of the day, will do whatever he does to get the win for them and advance in the playoffs.
I agree 100%. I see it as like the first round of last year with that Bucks Washington football playoff game.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be a close game. Like Hurts has some magic. I'm a Cowboy fan, so like I've seen him twice. We just absolutely embarrassed them.
And still made the
playoffs. Yeah. Actually hurt the Cowboys. We should have lost because then we wouldn't have to play the 49ers, but that's for another time. No, but the Eagles do have one of the better run games in the league, and they do have a good defense. So it's like they're definitely going to give Brady problems, especially if the Eagles could run the clock, and then put him under duress with limited weapons, and it's going to come down to could someone cover Gronk, and just force Brady to make throws. And if you've looked in the last couple of games, he hasn't really been making great Brady decisions. Like I was watching last game, and it's like 3rd and short, and he's throwing 40-yard passes, 30-yard passes to Mike Evans when he could just be trying to hit short routes and stuff like that. So I think the decision making is starting to get a little questionable just because of the amount of injuries, and they really have people in different placement. But I'm still going to go with Brady and say that he'll pull it out, like 2 touchdown lead.
All right. Even with the 8.5-point spread towards the Bucs being the favorites, you think it'll be a little more competitive? I hear that. Alex, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. You guys pretty much said everything I was going to. I think the only way that the Eagles can really keep this close is if they keep Brady on the sideline. Hurts is going to have to run a lot of RPO, a lot of sweeping motions, a lot of ground game. So if they can get over 200 yards on the ground or close to it, I think that they can keep this game close into the fourth quarter. But other than that, I think it could get out of hand really quickly with Tampa routing them if they don't.
All right. Now, the next game after that at 4:40 on Sunday, both CBS and Nickelodeon, where they'll even feature an MVP. Who's going to be taking that after Mitch Trubisky won? But anyways, you have a classic matchup. These two franchises had classic games throughout the history of the NFL, and they're meeting up once again, first time since the early 90s. You have the San Francisco 49ers playing Brian's Dallas Cowboys. Right now, the spread is that the Cowboys are 3-point favorites. The 49ers have taken the NFL by storm and been definitely the most surprising, most fun and interesting team. At first, you didn't know if it was going to be Trey Lance or Jimmy G, and then Jimmy G said, fuck this, I'm going in, when we've seen the rise of Deebo Samuel becoming one of the best receivers in the league. When Greg Kittle came back, he obviously made the team so much better. And with their still offensive line, you might have a team ready to make a deep run again. But also with Brian's Cowboys team, with their stellar defense, with their stars rising up on the defensive side, whether you have Trayvon Diggs and obviously Micah Parsons looking like LT out there, you got something going on. Dak Prescott set single season records. And you also see the rise of Miles Turner taking it over after Ezekiel pretty much, turn into another old running back. So very even matchup going into this game. This is what I'm personally most excited for. It can go either way. And I'm going to throw it first to Bryan, who has a dog in this fight. How do you think your Cowboys can defeat this team at home?
I'm scared because we're literally playing us. We're playing, a great defense, and we're playing a offense that should be absolutely fantastic, but at sometimes gets broken. And that's exactly what I see with the 49ers. If Jimmy Garoppolo has a thumb and doesn't throw interceptions early, I don't see us winning. But if Dallas could do two things, have Ezekiel Elliott run for more than 3.5 yards per carry, which he's known to do for 5-game stretches now, is just be below 4 yards per carry, which I believe is just because of age and his knee. We're going to find a finding in the offseason that he has like a meniscus tear or something like that, like some type of damage in his knee, because he's just not running in stride the way, he was earlier in the season. It comes down to if Tony Pollard is fully healthy because he has a foot injury right now, and if he's fully able to play, he's going to be, I think, getting the carries. And it also comes down to our best worst player on the defense, which is Trayvon Diggs, who led the league in interceptions, but also led the league in yards allowed as a cornerback. So I call him the best worst. You're going to have those interceptions when you get thrown at all the time. And that's, he's not Dion. He's growing into maybe being, a Jalen Ramsey, but he ain't Dion yet. So it depends if we could make plays and we could get pressure, because Garoppolo is not really one to move around the pocket a lot. If we could get pressure on the 49ers offensive line and, shake it up a bit, I think we will have, a good day. Do I think we'll win though? No.
Interesting. Very fair perspective. I respect it. Now, for the two guys who don't have a dog in the fight, who do you think is going on top in this epic game in Arlington?
I think, I agree with Bryan when it's going to come down to who has the run game. And I also think who's going to have more big plays in this game is what it's going to come down to. But I do have the Cowboys by 3. I can see a close game like that. The Cowboys taking this one.
Going to be about taking care of the football, who can reduce their turnovers to a minimum. Both teams have the chance of, really being careless with the ball. I mean, Zeke and Pollard both have had their issues with it. Special teams on both sides. And then, of course, Jimmy G just with, ill-conceived passes, bad reads. But I think the huge X factor is going to be Deebo Samuel. I think if the Cowboys have issues guarding him, I think he could have a huge day and give them problems. Kellen Moore, we'll see what kind of package they have ready for that defense. I think in order to kind of break apart that front four and keep Dak protected, because San Francisco has a tremendous front four with Armstead and Bosa. I think they're going to have to really spread out the touches with Zeke and Pollard and really spread the ball out wide to get it out quick. Kind of similar to how I see the Bengals having success against my Raiders, is that they're going to have to look in the middle of the field and really, get the ball out quick in order to, reduce the sacks and just negative yardage plays. But I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be down to the wire. I could really go either way on this one.
Look at that. And yeah, by the way, I don't know why I said Miles Turner. I meant to say Tony Pollard. I was looking at something before.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, truly a storied rivalry, especially in the playoffs. This is the most evenly matched up game going into this. And you could literally go on a flip of a coin. And good luck to you, Bryan, with that. We don't get a heart attack. You about to say something else?
I got one thing, though. Wouldn't it be nice, though, to see the Dallas Cowboy coming of age tight end Dalton Schultz in the right corner of the end zone just jump up right on the star and catch a nice game-winning touchdown and just have our own catch for once? Maybe, there's a Cinderella story every once in a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bryan, if that happens, I'm going to buy you lunch right here.
Oh, I can't wait.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. But you know what? That would be fun to see.
I do have a dog in this fight because there's two types of wins in my world: when the Raiders win and when the Cowboys lose. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There are good Cowboys fans, trust me. But you guys,
I'm a realistic Cowboy fan.
Mind.
I'm realistic. I'm saying they're gonna lose.
I like realistic fans. They're hard to find.
It'd be interesting. You're right. Exactly. Brian doesn't represent exactly the people we obviously hate in a Cowboy fan. But I guess my other question too is: you think Mike McCarthy's ready for this coming in? This is a big playoff game for him too.
If they win the Super Bowl or lose this game, I would fire Mike McCarthy and sign Brian Flores. That's how much I hate Mike McCarthy. The man is a proxy for Jerry Jones, like Jason Garrett. We won't win a Super Bowl until we actually get a competent head coach. I want Dan Quinn. I've been saying since like week 4, I want Dan Quinn as the head coach.
Yeah, this would be his time to go up, but it's definitely going to be fun to see. And we know Jerry wants that Super Bowl. He is up there in age, so we will see how that pans out. And I'm just going to throw this. Who do you think is going to be the MVP? I'm going to say Dak Prescott will win the MVP. Now, you don't have to win the game, remember. Like Mitch Trubisky somehow won the MVP. This is who is going to be an asshole and vote on Twitter for – it's supposed to be for kids. And they're going to pick the game. But, like, I remember Barstool took it over and the Stoolies made Mitch Trubisky win the MVP after losing in New Orleans last year. I'm just curious. Who do you guys think would be the MVP? I'll just throw it out. You could just simply say a name, and we'll see if your prediction comes true. Kittle?
Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, I got Kittle.
Well, it can't be Jimmy G because it's a kid show and he dated a porn star, so that ain't happening.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
I would say Kittle, but he's not pretty on TV. I'm gonna go Dak.
Okay, two for Kittle, 2 for Dak. Let's go. Now this is gonna be something else. You have the Steelers and the Chiefs, 12.5 point favorites. I guess Big Ben is gonna hold off his retirement for 1 or 2 weeks. Now remember, just 2 weeks ago they got destroyed. What was it, 36-10? But stranger things have happened. Do we see at any point or in any scenario that the Steelers could somehow win the Chiefs, or do we think this is just a practice game? But again, football's football, but this team is on other planets, especially for how much the Chiefs have improved in the final 5 weeks of the season.
I hate the Chiefs, so I got faith.
Okay, you're gonna go that. Listen,
last dance. It's very last dance. Like I keep on saying, Big Ben out. You know what I mean? Think the chance of him making the playoffs alone was like slim to none. And like Mike Tomlin just knows how to play. So you know what I mean? Like he's just a great coach. You got a defense. You got TJ Watt. And we've seen Mahomes be streaky this year. So he's been good lately, but maybe he goes back into that little bit of a rut.
Oh boy, the money line right now is $5.50. You got a huge payday. You just throw $10 in there.
Hey, good thing FanDuel's around in New York now.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, hey, fuck it. Just
stranger things have happened before. You know what I mean? Like stranger things have happened.
We'll go here. Brian saying the Steelers will upset the Chiefs. Alex and Tommy, do you feel the same way?
I have the Steelers winning with a 10% chance. Anything's possible. Like
KG's gonna want that residual money. Anything's possible. No, I mean there's always a chance. It's hard for me to conceive on the Chiefs coming out undisciplined in this game. I think that they know what's on the line. They know they can't fuck around. And the issue with Pittsburgh is that it's been a feel-good story with Ben finishing the season, but they haven't really addressed the issues with the offense, that they can't push the ball down the field. And Najee Harris can't really break holes without that offensive line, pushing the pile, which they've had issues with all season. And I think that I think Spagnuolo's defense has corrected itself over the past 8-9 weeks. I think if they don't come away with 7 or 3 every time on their drives, I think that this game could get out of hand pretty quickly. So I'm gonna have the Chiefs winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
At least, man. Well,
yeah.
Again,
the only saving grace is if they lose one-on-one with TJ Watt, I think he could probably disrupt things, maybe cause a turnover. That's kind of the only saving grace with Pittsburgh, I think, is if they can get a cheap takeaway, cheap touchdown.
Yeah, this is I think anyone who knows football knows that this is going to be, all signs are pointing to a blowout except Brian, but we respect anyone who's willing to be different.
I feel like everyone says, the Chiefs, and I want to be that one guy in history. Like, I know I'm going to be wrong, but if I have it on record that I said the Steelers, I feel a little bit better. But, you never listen, Mahomes, it's a lot of pressure on him now because he had a not Mahomes season. It's very, I could just see it. I could see the overthrow to Minka Fitzpatrick. I could see the sack fumble by TJ Watt. I could see it right now. I could see Najee Harris is breaking one out, and they don't have really a good run game, the Chiefs. So it's like, what happens if, you have a quarter where you really aren't on, point with your receivers? They need a lot of things to work, but it is the Steelers where they catch breaks in a weird way where it could, get lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, 550 on that money line. Throw $100 and get, turn that to, $5,000 and, then you'll say, look at me now.
Right to the podcast.
Oh, please do, man. Please. Don't take anything.
Make it rain in that room.
It's the human fun for the show.
The human fun.
One final matchup. Monday Night Football, which is pretty awesome. You have the Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams. Right now, the Rams are 4-point favorites. Here's the thing. The Cardinals, obviously, though dipped a little bit, has been the most surprising team to come out of the NFL this year. The Rams just keep adding to their deep team and repertoire. At first, people thought, wow, this is turning into a failed experiment. But then some wins later shows that they have a lot to be excited for. Also, one thing to confirm, J.J. Watt, is he coming back? He did get cleared, right?
Yeah,
that was official. So you have J.J. Watt joining the defense, which makes a huge difference in this game now. Knowing that, do we see the Rams pulling it off? Will they justify, handing everything over to these players to have this other team? Or do we see the Cardinals ramping it up with new stars and see what Kyler Murray can do with this opportunity? Where do we see this game going? Another densely, evenly matched up football game.
I think this game could go either way. If Matt Stafford isn't struggling and doesn't throw any picks, I can see the Rams taking this one. But if Kyler can make some of the cool flashy plays that he made this year, and can stay in the game with the Cardinals, then they could come out with a win. But I think the Rams got this one.
I think it's all going to be about pressure. Matt Stafford, just from, I remember when I was a kid, younger, the Cowboy Detroit game and DeMarcus Lawrence, that was his first postseason game. I think it was his rookie year, and him and DeMarcus Ware got crazy pressure against Stafford, and it rattled them up. And that game went to the end with a bad call. But regardless of that pressure, with JJ Watt back, even if he's 75% healthy, it's gonna command a double team with him playing now inside. And now you got Chandler Jones, you have Marcus Golden, you have Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons. Their front seven has a lot of playmakers in it. If they could get to Stafford, I think it's going to definitely, rattle the cage a bit, and it could become a close game. But I think overall, the Rams will win.
Huge. What do you say, Alex?
Yeah, I think the Rams should win this game. They have every reason to on paper, but it's going to come down, again, how they execute the offense, how Stafford and McVay prep for this game. If they could reduce the turnovers and have a balanced attack, on the ground and through the air, um, I think they should win this game. It's going to be interesting to see, the receivers for both sides, because Cooper Kupp is going to be obviously like all eyes on him throughout the game. They're going to be trying to double him and run a bunch of a bunch of decoy stuff to get him off track on the outside. But the same thing with Arizona. They're gonna have to balance out the play calling. Cliff Kingsbury's brand new to this. I have a little more faith in Sean McVay, which is kind of why I give them the nod. But Aaron Donald and Michael Floyd have been a little quiet the past few weeks, so let's see if they can dial up some pressure as well.
Absolutely.
I'll also make this comment. It might be a battle of the tight ends, Ertz versus Higbee, because I could see, the cornerbacks really locking up. AJ Green, Jalen, the Ramsey, and they got Cardinals have some playmakers where, there could be a possibility that if they do eliminate Kupp, it might just go into the, these short intermediate throws and routes to like Van Jefferson and, Tyler Higbee just over the middle. And then you have, if there's getting pressure on Kyler Murray, having, Zach Ertz being that safety blanket. So it might come down to who could get, what, intermediate routes and, mismatches. You could get those quick, conversions, third and shorts, those second and sevens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in the series this season, they split both games and both home teams actually lost. Do you think that has anything to be noted coming into this game? The Rams are going to be home on their quest to try to play a home game in the Super Bowl.
I think the past 5-6 weeks, I think the Cardinals have just been kind of shaky. I think they got away from what they did best with their identity, which is, relying heavily on the defense and letting Kyler just kind of work in space.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've kind of gotten away from that identity. And at the end of the day, I just believe that McVay is going to have those guys far more ready for this game than Kingsbury. I don't know what he's made of in the playoffs. I think that a lot of his success, especially with Kyler, is catching teams off by surprise. And I think that now that you had a full body of work on them, I think a whole week to prepare for a team like that, the Rams should be okay.
All right. Hear you. Well, one last thing to do there. We have identified where we think things are going for the final wildcard matchup. So I just want to, I'm just throwing this. So who do you think, including the 1 seeds, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl with what we have left? We'll start with Brian, go Tommy and Alex, and then me. I'll start off because you guys' opinions are awesome. I just love hearing it. But I say, from everything I've said at the beginning of the season, it was going to be Packers, Bills. The midpoint, I said Packers, Bengals. And now, with everything that is unfolded, I should be a loyal person and stick with the Bills and Packers from the start. I honestly think that the Chiefs have looked really good these past few weeks, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defense proven a little mightily. And you're right, there it is, that factor. Could this be a yip moment for Patrick Mahomes? Definitely. But I think now in the big spotlight, especially after a very winnable game going into the wild card matchup, that can only grow the momentum from here on out. So we're going to go with the Packers and Chiefs at this moment for me. Brian, where do you see this going?
If Derrick Henry's healthy, Packers, Titans, and the Titans upset the Packers. And I see it going to, I could see it being like an embarrassment. I could see Derrick Henry, if he's healthy, running over the Green Bay Packers.
All right, good stuff. And also who I see the Packers would defeat the Chiefs. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers begins his next life as a game show host and a major hipster. What do you say, Tommy?
Well, I have so for the NFC Championship, I have Packers beating the Bucks, and for the AFC Championship, I have Titans beating the Chiefs, and then for the Super Bowl, I have Aaron Rodgers and the Packers winning or beating the Titans for the Super Bowl.
That would be a hell of a fun matchup. Get Devontae Adams versus Derrick Henry right there. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Ranniello, what do you say?
Yes, sir. Well, before the beginning of the season, I did have Packers Chiefs, and I'm despite all the crazy bullshit this year, I'm gonna stick with it. I think that we're kind of overthinking things. We're a little hyperbolic with the wild card rounds and the divisional rounds ahead of us. I did take the Bills as a considerable threat, but they're one of those teams where they could either make it to the Super Bowl or they could be out in the first round. It's very difficult to gauge them, and I don't really know what to make of the inconsistency with that team right now. I have more faith in the Chiefs, as much as I hate saying that as a Raiders fan, but I just believe what they're made of, and I feel the same way about Green Bay, especially having a week to rest and having a little bit of an easier first round, the divisional level. So I'm going to go Chiefs Packers in the Super Bowl.
Okay, good stuff. Well, gentlemen, that completes what we got today. Nothing but a great time. We'll see you all in a week as we react to how good our picks was for the wild card and then preview the divisional round. And we will take in this month, the month of the NFL postseason. I appreciate you guys. Bryan McKeon, Tommy Brown, Alex Ranniello. Thank you, gentlemen, as always. And we'll see you really soon. Let's enjoy some football right here, right now.
How about them Cowboys?
Raider Nation.
Let's go Giants, but can't.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right. Have a great night, guys.